Okay, so now we're going to obviously secure the motor permanently to the gearbox. I'm going to simply tell you now and not make you watch all of it. Essentially, we're going to put those two screws in with Loctite. When those are firm and tight, we'll take those two out, put Loctite, lock them into place so we don't lose the meshing. So we leave those in until we've done those two. Okay, so Loctite on the last screw. Bring that in. The other three are tight. So we've secured that position. That, tweak them all again, just double sure, not over tight, just enough to make sure that they stay. The Loctite will do its job. Obviously double check that you've done your grab screw on your gear, that's tight, can't move. Alright, so, and now the gear will drop in there. What I'm going to do for now, I'm going to go over to the other box, which has got the grease in, so I'll show you how much grease to put. Alright, so we begin as follows. You take the gear out, and you take your paddle, take your tub, and essentially just lay it in the box like that. Now it's not, you bring it to the level, not this level of the outer edge, but of the level of that inner rippled part. You can just squeeze it a bit like that. Back in the tub, drop your gear in. Make sure that the washer goes through that thrust washer that was in the bottom. I should have checked that first, but it's okay. Oopsie daisy. Now I don't find the gear, I don't find the washer. Okay, so I fished the washer out. It was underneath there. I'll do that part again. So you put your grease back, just like so. And then take your gear. This time I put the washer on the bottom so it can't get lost. You drop that in. And that must go into the bush like so. Again the pedal, and you basically scoop it so that it can come up in a bevel just to on top of that inner serrated edge. That's about how much grease you want. You don't want to overfill it. Okay, when you close the box like so. Okay, wipe away all the excess, it becomes a bit messy. Alright, and now we're going to fit the 4 screws around the outside, and we'll continue at that point. We can begin. Alright, so importantly, when you tighten the cover and you tighten these screws up, you don't over tighten. When they basically get to the end and it feels firm, you just tweak it slightly, and the same on all 4. Don't over tighten. You don't want to kink the front cover. You don't want to squash the gear between the 2 bushes. Can't test it now because the grease will be impeding movement, but just up to the point where it feels tight, and then a little, just a hair, and then same on the last one, just a hair. Alright, now best before we continue to actually run the motor in with the gear, with the grease in the box. So we will reconnect. Now importantly, as I said, it's very simple to change direction, but you could also have marked these leads, put in an auto, an X, and a 1 and a 1, or something like that, or just mark 2 of them, and then you don't have to keep changing if it's wrong. Okay, and importantly, before you put the fan on, you do this test before you put the fan on, because with the fan spinning, it's easy for it to grab the cloth or touch your hand and hurt you. So when you're going to run this in, do the same as before, radio on, take the switch wires, same color, connect them together, single beep, there we go, lift the socket, make sure it's going in the right direction. That's anti-clockwise, correct, that's clockwise. The shaft must be clockwise, motor anti-clockwise. Okay, it's helpful if you've got a little block of wood. Hard to show you this like that. Okay, but I'll do it this way. Make sure you've got the motor securely, and you can use it's very greasy. And you can use the block of wood to put some pressure on the shaft. Not really getting anywhere with that. Let's see how I can do this. Okay, there we go. Making sure that you've got the motor, you can apply pressure to the shaft trick is, the idea is just to make sure that the shaft seats. Now, this is the important part. When you move the shaft, it must have a little bit, well, it might even be a hair too little, but I'd like to push it in a bit more. Let me see if I can do this better. Okay, now I've got what feels like about a 1/2 mil. And also you can slightly loosen the screws if you haven't got. Just turn it, tweak it back a hair. Still tight, but just a hair back. Okay, check it now. Okay, and you can actually hear the mode change. It's now running freely, it's not binding anywhere. The other little sound is the grease still being thrown. But basically when I let go, you can see the motor runs down, doesn't suddenly stop. It's not being, it's not freezing on the shaft or being held by the shaft. That's important, very important. This is a very important setting. Okay, now we're happy. And now it's to fit the fan and to fit the coupling. So basically coupling goes on like that, and we want to have that same measurement that we had earlier, which was 17. Just double check, it looks about very close to right. That looks just about exactly right, touches there. And if I visually inspect, I can see that the shaft is not protruding into the space where the coupling will go in. So I can double check myself. I can see the shaft is about in the right spot. My measurement is correct. And once, as before, we're going to use some Loctite, and we are going to lock out those scrub screws. Okay, first tighten one of them. Just lock it in position. As you tighten, you see it might move on, so that it finds the exact plane of the flat spot. When it moved as much as that one did, I'll just double check my spacing. So it went away a little bit. There we go, looks better. That's perfect. Now I'll lock that in place. And I'll start with the back one. Just Loctite that and then Loctite the front one. Go. Do the same with the front. I won't do it now, but we do the same with the front one. Once the back one is now held in the position, just nice and tighten. Don't over tighten anything. You don't want to strip anything. Wipe that away, and then remove that and put the grub screw. Put some Loctite, then the grub screw back again. Next part is the fan. It's very, very simple. The shiny side to the outside, and making sure, in fact, that the motor is disconnected, that all the switch is disconnected, radio can be off, and because you don't want this thing to start spinning and take your fingers off. And that's it. Okay, I won't bore you with this again, it's just the 3 screws. Okay, so on these 3 screws, there's no Loctite. We don't put Loctite here. That because that's aluminium, that's stainless steel, so very, very quickly they will, I wouldn't say fuse, but they bind very, very well, so no reason to do that. And I've also found that the heads can strip easily, so you don't want to battle in the future. And the washer, the fan washer, which is quite thick, also bends and makes a spring wash out of itself to some extent. So once you've tightened it fairly firmly, do make it quite firm. The washer bends and holds it exactly as it should. Now if you wanted to, and if you're brave, you could do this, but it's dangerous. But you can reconnect the radio first, reconnect the motor, or reconnect the switch, say, wait for the beep, watch your front now and watch your back, hold it in the air like that, don't touch there and don't touch there. feel the air blowing, everything is turning, it's in the right direction. And now you go back to the other video which showed you how to reassemble your panel and your motor. That's it.